Have you ever struggled to recall a name, a number, or the crucial points of a presentation right when you needed them most? You're not alone. Modern life inundates our brains with over 34 gigabytes of information every single day, yet we're only capable of consciously managing a handful of details at a time. This constant flood of data leaves us frustrated, stressed, and often questioning our own cognitive abilities. But what if you could harness the power of ancient memory techniques to transform your mental capacity? What if you could reliably recall the information you need exactly when you need it? In the Memory Palace technique, you'll discover a powerful, proven 5-step system designed to significantly enhance your memory. You'll learn the very methods used by world-class memory champions to dominate competitions, as well as practical strategies for turning everyday spaces into memory superchargers. Whether you've struggled with memory your entire life or simply want to sharpen your recall for professional and personal success, this book will demonstrate that exceptional memory isn't a gift reserved for the few. It's a skill anyone can develop. Welcome to your journey toward unlocking your mind's true potential. Chapter 1, Mind Upgrade. Your phone buzzes, another email, another urgent request, another fact to remember, another name to store, another strategy to implement. But here's the brutal truth. By tomorrow, 80% of what you just learned will vanish into the digital void of your overloaded mind. You're drowning in data while starving for recall. This chapter will show you how to transform your brain from a leaky bucket into a high-performance recall machine. By the final page, you'll build your first memory palace and instantly memorize a 30-item list. More importantly, you'll understand the 5-step system that turns forgotten facts into permanent mental assets, giving you the unfair advantage every ambitious professional craves. The data deluge disaster. Every day, 34 gigabytes of information assault your consciousness. That's equivalent to watching 12 hours of HD video, except it's scattered across emails, meetings, articles, podcasts, and conversations. Your brain, evolved for hunting and gathering, now faces the impossible task of processing more data in one day than your ancestors encountered in a lifetime. Here's the kicker. Your working memory, the mental workspace where you juggle information, caps out at just 4 chunks of data. That's it, 4 measly slots to handle the complexity of modern business, relationships, and strategic thinking. The math is devastating. While information floods in at gigabyte speeds, your natural retention operates at kilobyte capacity. The result, a cognitive bottleneck that chokes your potential and sabotages your success. Each forgotten client name costs you trust. Every misremembered statistic undermines your credibility. Each lost framework slows your decision-making. The opportunity cost compounds daily, turning sharp professionals into scattered, overwhelmed workers who rely on notes for everything. The stagnation spiral. What happens when you do nothing? When you accept forgetting as inevitable and hope your smartphone will save you? You enter the stagnation spiral. First, missed opportunities multiply. That investor meeting where you fumbled the key numbers? Deal dead. The networking event where you forgot names 5 minutes after introductions? Relationships stillborn. The strategy session where you couldn't recall the framework that would have solved everything. Credibility shattered. Your confidence erodes with each mental failure. You start second-guessing yourself, reaching for notes mid-conversation, apologizing for senior moments that have nothing to do with age and everything to do with an untrained memory. The half-life of new information in your brain drops to mere hours. You read a brilliant article Monday morning. By Wednesday, you remember the headline, but not the insights. You attend a game-changing seminar. By month's end, you've retained maybe 10% of the content you paid thousands to learn. Worst of all, busyness replaces strategic growth. You spend more time relearning what you've already forgotten than building new capabilities. You become a hamster on a wheel, running faster but going nowhere. Your first victory awaits. But here's where everything changes. Within the next 15 minutes, you'll construct your first memory palace, a spatial framework that transforms abstract information into vivid, unforgettable scenes. You'll memorize a 30-item action list of names, tasks, or facts with perfect accuracy after just one walkthrough. This isn't magic, it's method. The technique you're about to learn has been battle-tested for over 2,500 years. Ancient Greek and Roman orators used it to deliver flawless speeches lasting hours without a single note. Modern memory champions use it to memorize entire decks of cards in under 30 seconds. Your starter palace will prove a fundamental truth. Your brain isn't broken, it's just been using the wrong operating system. The compound advantage. Master this system, and the long-term payoff is staggering. Picture yourself 6 months from now. You walk into a boardroom and deliver a 45-minute presentation without slides, weaving together frameworks, statistics, and case studies with surgical precision. Your audience is mesmerized. Your credibility soars. Imagine recalling every client's personal details, business challenges, and conversation history. You become the advisor who just gets it, the one they trust with their biggest decisions and refer to their networks. Envision learning new skills at 3x speed because you can instantly recall and connect concepts. Languages, technical skills, industry knowledge, everything sticks because you have a system that works. The confidence flywheel kicks in. Better recall leads to greater credibility, which creates more opportunities, which builds more confidence. Success compounds. The 5-step memory stack. Your transformation follows 5 sequential steps, each building on the last. Blueprint. You'll select familiar architecture and map clear pathways through space. This spatial scaffolding becomes the foundation for everything else. Encoding. Raw data transforms into vivid, sticky images using proven conversion systems. Numbers become objects, concepts become scenes. PAO Power, the person-action-object system, turbocharges your capacity, letting you compress massive amounts of information into animated mental movies. Recall cycles, spaced retrieval schedules lock memories into long-term storage, preventing the fade that kills most learning. Scaling systems, you'll build networks of parallel palaces, creating a searchable mental database that grows with your ambitions. This sequence isn't arbitrary. Each step prepares your brain for the next level of complexity. The strategic sequence. Why this order? Why not jump straight to advanced techniques? Spatial scaffolding comes first because your brain's navigation system, the same neural networks that help you find your car in a parking lot, provides the strongest foundation for memory. Place cells in your hippocampus have been mapping environments for millions of years. We're simply hijacking this ancient system for modern advantage. Encoding follows because vivid imagery sticks where abstract data slides off. Your brain remembers the bizarre, the emotional, the sensory. Once you can convert any information into memorable pictures, you can store anything. PAO builds speed before volume explodes. As your palaces grow larger, you need compression techniques that pack more data into each mental location. PAO provides that efficiency. Retrieval cycles prevent the illusion of learning, that dangerous feeling that you know something just because you've seen it recently. Active recall, not passive review, builds permanent memories. Finally, scaling systems prevent cognitive overload as your knowledge expands. Without proper architecture, even the best memory techniques collapse under their own weight. Winners versus losers, the mindset split. Here's where most people fail before they start. Losers blame genetics. I've always had a terrible memory. Some people are just naturally gifted. My brain doesn't work that way. They treat memory as fixed, immutable, beyond their control. Winners treat recall as a trainable skill. They understand that memory champions aren't born. They're built through deliberate practice and proven systems. Losers build once and quit. They try a technique for a week, don't see instant mastery, and abandon the effort. They want microwave results from crock-pot processes. Winners iterate and improve. They track their accuracy, identify weak points, and systematically upgrade their palaces. They understand that mastery comes through refinement, not perfection on the first attempt. Losers hope and forget. They rely on luck, good intentions, and the false promise that important stuff will stick naturally. Winners measure and manage. They know exactly what they've stored, when they last reviewed it, and how accurately they can retrieve it. They treat their memory like the strategic asset it is. Legends of mental mastery. This isn't theory. Real people have used these exact techniques to achieve extraordinary results. Marcus Tullius Cicero, the greatest orator of ancient Rome, used memory palaces to deliver devastating courtroom speeches that could last for hours. Without a single note, he would weave together legal precedents, witness testimonies, and rhetorical flourishes that swayed judges and juries. His enemies feared his memory more than his words, because perfect recall made his arguments unassailable. Dominic O'Brien discovered memory techniques at age 30 after watching a memory demonstration on television. He went on to become an 8-time world memory champion, capable of memorizing a shuffled deck of cards in just 38 seconds. His secret? The same spatial and encoding principles you're about to learn. Magnus Carlsen, the chess world champion, doesn't just see the current board position. He navigates through mental palaces containing thousands of game variations. Each potential move sequence is stored as a spatial journey through familiar locations, allowing him to calculate 15 to 20 moves ahead, while his opponents struggle with 3-4. These aren't genetic freaks. They're ordinary people who discovered an extraordinary system. The neural revolution. Here's what's happening in your brain as you build these skills. The method of loci, the technical name for memory palaces, exploits your brain's most ancient and reliable navigation system. Hippocampal place cells fire when you imagine moving through familiar spaces, creating the same neural patterns as physical movement. This spatial encoding provides multiple retrieval pathways for every piece of information. Dual coding theory explains why this works so powerfully. Your brain processes verbal and visual information through separate but connected systems. When you convert abstract data into vivid spatial scenes, you're creating redundant storage across both networks. If one pathway fails, the other provides backup. Chunking by rooms keeps cognitive load manageable. Instead of trying to remember 30 individual items, you remember 5 rooms with 6 items each. Your working memory can handle the room-level organization, while the spatial system manages the details. Spaced retrieval triggers long-term potentiation, the cellular process that strengthens synaptic connections. Each time you mentally walk through your palace, you're literally rewiring your brain for better recall. This isn't just memory training. It's cognitive enhancement that spills over into creativity, problem-solving, and strategic thinking. The 80-20 philosophy. This book follows a crucial principle: strategy first, tactics second. You'll spend 80% of your time understanding the big picture, why these techniques work, how they fit together, when to use each approach. The remaining 20% covers specific drills and exercises. Why this ratio? Because understanding the principles makes you adaptable. You'll be able to modify techniques for your unique needs, troubleshoot problems independently, and innovate beyond the basic methods. Tactical knowledge alone creates brittle skills that break under pressure. Strategic understanding builds anti-fragile capabilities that strengthen with use. Your transformation begins. The journey ahead isn't just about memory, it's about cognitive mastery that transforms how you think, learn, and lead. In the coming chapters, you'll discover the secrets of spatial blueprint, how to select and map the perfect architectural foundation for your mental palaces. You'll master encoding codes that turn any data into unforgettable imagery. PAO Power will show you how to compress massive amounts of information into animated scenes that stick forever. But the real magic happens when these skills compound, when perfect recall becomes automatic, when you can access any stored information in seconds, when your mind becomes the most reliable tool in your professional arsenal. The choice is yours. You can continue drowning in data, forgetting more than you remember, watching opportunities slip away because your memory failed at the crucial moment. Or you can take the first step toward limitless recall. Your future self, the one who commands rooms with flawless presentations, who remembers every important detail, who thinks faster and more clearly than ever before, is waiting just beyond the next page, where the ancient art of spatial blueprint will reveal how to build the foundation of your memory empire. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to Grow to the Top and activate notifications to receive more self-improvement tips that will supercharge your growth. And make sure to give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. It really helps the channel grow. Thank you for your support. Chapter 2, Spatial Blueprint. Picture this. You're standing in your childhood bedroom, eyes closed, yet you can navigate to the closet without stumbling. You know exactly where the light switch sits, which floorboard creaks, how many steps to the window. Even decades later, that spatial map remains crystal clear in your mind. Now imagine harnessing that same navigational superpower, not for finding your way through physical spaces, but for finding your way through information. What if every fact, figure, and framework could be as permanently etched in your memory as the layout of your first home? This is the secret behind the spatial blueprint, and why it forms the unshakable foundation of every memory palace you'll ever build. The navigation revolution, hidden in your brain. Your brain contains one of nature's most sophisticated GPS systems. While you've been struggling to remember where you put your keys, specialized cells in your hippocampus have been quietly mapping every environment you've ever encountered. These place cells fire in unique patterns for specific locations. When you think about your kitchen, certain neurons activate. Move to your living room, and a different constellation lights up. Your brain has been building detailed architectural blueprints your entire life. You just haven't learned to exploit them for memory mastery. Here's the breakthrough insight that changes everything. The same neural networks that help you navigate physical space can be hijacked to navigate information space. When you map data onto familiar locations, you're not just using a clever trick. You're tapping into millions of years of evolutionary programming. The results are staggering. Spatial structures can cut your retrieval time by up to 70% compared to rote memorization. More importantly, they bridge the gap between your brain's limited short-term capacity and its virtually unlimited long-term storage, freeing up mental bandwidth for the strategic thinking that actually moves your career forward. The London taxi driver phenomenon. Want proof this works? Look at London's legendary black cab drivers. To earn their license, these drivers must pass the knowledge, a grueling examination requiring them to memorize over 25,000 streets, 20,000 landmarks, and the optimal routes between any 2 points in London. No GPS allowed, pure spatial memory. Neuroscientist Eleanor Maguire studied these drivers and discovered something remarkable. Their hippocampi, the brain's primary memory center, were significantly larger than average. More fascinating still, the longer they'd been driving, the more pronounced this enlargement became. The drivers hadn't been born with superior spatial abilities. They'd literally grown them through practice. But here's the kicker. These enhanced spatial skills didn't just help them navigate London's streets. The drivers showed improved memory across all domains. Their brains had been fundamentally rewired for better recall. You're about to trigger the same transformation. The memory champion's secret weapon. Nelson Dellis wasn't born a memory champion. In fact, he struggled with recall throughout school and college. But when his grandmother developed Alzheimer's disease, he became obsessed with understanding how memory works. Dellis discovered memory palaces and began building them obsessively. His first palace was his childhood home, a simple ranch house with maybe 15 distinct locations. Within months, he could store and recall hundreds of facts using that single structure. But Dellis didn't stop there. He began constructing elaborate fantasy palaces, including one based on Mount Everest, which he later climbed in real life to strengthen the spatial associations. Today, he's a 4-time USA memory champion who can memorize over 300 names and faces in 15 minutes. His secret wasn't superhuman genetics or photographic memory. It was understanding that space is the ultimate organizing principle for human recall. Demolishing the myths. Before we build your first palace, let's destroy the misconceptions that stop most people from even trying. Myth 1. Only visual learners benefit from memory palaces. This is nonsense. Your spatial navigation system operates below the level of conscious visualization. Even people who claim they can't see pictures in their mind can navigate familiar spaces with perfect accuracy. The spatial blueprint works regardless of your learning style because it's hardwired into human neurology. Myth 2. It takes weeks to set up a functional palace. Wrong again. You'll have a working palace within the next 20 minutes. The basic structure requires nothing more than a familiar space and a logical pathway. Refinement takes time, but functionality is immediate. Myth 3. You need vivid photographic imagination. The biggest lie of all. Memory palaces work through spatial relationships, not visual clarity. You don't need to see your palace in HD detail. You just need to know how the pieces connect. Think of it like muscle memory for your mind. These myths persist because they give people permission to quit before they start. Don't fall for them. Choosing your foundation. Your first palace should feel like coming home because familiarity breeds reliability. Start with a space you know intimately. Your current home works perfectly, but so does your childhood bedroom, your office, your favorite coffee shop, or even your car. The key is choosing somewhere you can navigate without conscious effort. Size matters, but not how you think. Bigger isn't better. Clarity is. A small apartment with 5 distinct locations beats a mansion with 50 confusing rooms. You want between 5 and 15 loci for your starter palace. This gives you enough capacity to store meaningful information without overwhelming your working memory. The architecture itself is irrelevant. A studio apartment works as well as a cathedral. What matters is that you can move through the space in a logical, repeatable sequence. The Golden Path Principle. Here's where most beginners stumble. They try to memorize random locations instead of creating a coherent journey. Your palace needs a single, unambiguous pathway, what memory experts call the golden path. This route should flow naturally from entrance to exit without backtracking, loops, or dead ends. Think of it as laying railroad tracks through your space. The direction matters less than the consistency. Some people prefer clockwise movement. Others go left to right like reading text. Choose what feels natural and stick with it religiously. Your brain craves predictable patterns. Start at your entrance and mentally walk through your space, noting each significant location where you could place information. Your kitchen table, the living room couch, the bedroom dresser. Each spot becomes a locus, a storage container for memories. Number these locations mentally as you go. Locus 1, Locus 2, Locus 3. This indexing system will prove crucial later when you need to access specific information quickly. The architecture of attention. Not all locations are created equal. Some spots in your palace will naturally grab attention while others fade into the background. Doorways make excellent loci because they represent transitions. Your brain is hardwired to notice thresholds. Corners work well because they break up the visual field. Large furniture pieces provide stable anchors that won't shift in your memory. Avoid ambiguous spaces like the middle of the room or somewhere on the wall. These vague locations will blur together over time, corrupting your stored information. Each locus needs distinct boundaries and unique characteristics. Color becomes your secret weapon here. Anchor every 5th locus with a distinctive color splash, a red chair, a blue lamp, a yellow painting. These chromatic landmarks help you navigate quickly to specific sections of your palace. The serial position advantage. Your golden path exploits a fundamental quirk of human memory. We remember beginnings and endings better than middles. This is called the serial position effect, and it's been documented in thousands of studies. When you store information along a spatial route, items at the start and end of your journey get automatic memory boosts. The middle locations require more effort, but the spatial framework keeps them accessible. Smart palace builders exploit this pattern. They place their most important information at the entrance and exit, using the natural memory advantages of these positions. Less critical data goes in the middle, supported by the spatial structure. The rehearsal revolution. Here's something most memory books won't tell you. Your palace improves automatically while you sleep. During rest periods, your brain's default mode network replays the spatial routes you've practiced. These unconscious rehearsals strengthen the neural pathways without any conscious effort on your part. The more you use your palace, the more your brain optimizes it for speed and accuracy. This is why consistency matters more than perfection. A simple palace used regularly will outperform an elaborate one used sporadically. Your brain needs repetition to build the automatic pathways that make recall effortless. Avoiding the common traps. 3 mistakes kill most memory palaces before they reach maturity. Route loops create confusion because your brain can't distinguish between multiple visits to the same location. If your path doubles back on itself, you'll store conflicting information in the same spot. The solution is simple. Redesign your route to flow in one direction only. Loci ambiguity happens when locations blur together in your memory. 2 similar chairs become indistinguishable. 3 identical doorways merge into one. Combat this by adding unique sensory tags, different sounds, smells, or textures that make each location unmistakable. Overcrowding destroys the spatial advantage by forcing too much information into each location. If you find yourself struggling to fit everything, split large rooms into corners or move excess data to a new floor. Your palace should feel spacious, not cramped. The performance ladder. Your spatial blueprint will evolve through 3 distinct performance levels. Good means recalling 25 sequential facts in under 3 minutes. This proves your basic structure works and your pathway is clear. You can navigate your palace without hesitation and retrieve stored information in order. Excellent means error-free playback in under 60 seconds. At this level, your spatial navigation has become automatic. You can zip through your palace at thought speed, accessing any stored information almost instantly. Best means zero hesitation storytelling that captivates an audience. You can deliver presentations, tell stories, or explain complex concepts while mentally walking through your palace, weaving together information with the confidence of someone who knows exactly where everything is stored. The foundation is set. You now understand why space forms the bedrock of superhuman memory. Your brain's navigation system provides the most reliable framework for organizing information, and your first palace will prove this within minutes of construction. But spatial structure alone isn't enough. Raw information still slides off your mental architecture like water off glass. To make facts stick permanently, you need to transform them into something your brain can't ignore: vivid, emotional, impossible to forget imagery. The ancient art of encoding codes holds the key to this transformation, revealing how to convert any data into brain-sticky pictures that burn themselves into your memory forever. Chapter 3: Encoding Codes. Your memory palace stands ready, a perfect spatial framework with clear pathways and distinct locations. But there's a problem. Try to store the number 847291 in your first locus and watch what happens. Your brain treats those digits like smoke, letting them drift away within seconds. Raw numbers are your memory's kryptonite. They're abstract, meaningless, and forgettable by design. But what if I told you there's a secret code, developed over centuries and perfected by memory masters, that transforms any sequence of digits into vivid, unforgettable images? This is the power of encoding codes, and mastering this ancient system will turn your brain into a data storage machine that never forgets. The abstract enemy. Your brain evolved to remember concrete, meaningful information. A saber-toothed tiger charging toward you? Unforgettable. The face of your first love? Permanently etched. But the number 847291, your neural networks treat it like digital noise. This isn't a flaw, it's a feature. For millions of years, abstract symbols provided no survival advantage. Your ancestors needed to remember which berries were poisonous, not which cave was numbered 847291. So your brain developed powerful filters that dump meaningless data to preserve space for what matters. The problem is that modern success depends on remembering abstract information. Phone numbers, account codes, statistical data, financial figures, the very numbers that drive business decisions are the same ones your brain is programmed to forget. But here's the breakthrough. You can hijack your brain's preference for concrete imagery by converting abstract numbers into vivid pictures. This isn't just a memory trick, it's cognitive alchemy that transforms your mental lead into gold. The consonant revolution. The solution lies in a system so elegant, so powerful, that it's been used by memory masters for over 400 years. It's called the major system, and it works by mapping each digit to specific consonant sounds. The mapping isn't arbitrary, it's based on logical associations that make the system almost impossible to forget. The number 1 maps to T and D sounds because these letters have 1 downstroke when written. The number 2 maps to N because N has 2 downstrokes. 0 maps to S and Z because 0 starts with Z. Once you know these sound-to-digit correspondences, you can convert any number into pronounceable words by adding vowels. The number 31 becomes mat3 T equal 1. Add vowels and you get mat or mute. The number 459 becomes rail, R4 L equal 5 and 9. But here's where the magic happens. Words become images, and images stick in memory like glue. The transformation masters. Akira Haraguchi proved the power of this system by memorizing 111,700 digits of pi, a feat that took him over 16 hours to recite. His secret wasn't superhuman memory, but systematic encoding. He converted every sequence of digits into Japanese words, then wove those words into elaborate stories that unfolded across mental landscapes. Haraguchi didn't see numbers when he recalled pi. He saw narratives, characters, and scenes playing out in vivid detail. The abstract had become concrete. The forgettable had become unforgettable. Daniel Tammet took a different approach, but achieved similar results. Born with synesthesia, Tammet experienced numbers as shapes, colors, and textures. To him, the number 37 appeared as a lumpy, round shape with a bright blue color. Using these natural visual associations, he memorized 22,514 digits of pi in just 5 hours. Both men understood the same fundamental truth. Your brain remembers pictures, not numbers. Destroying the encoding myths. 3 dangerous myths prevent most people from mastering this system. Myth 1 claims encoding is slower than rote memorization. This is backwards thinking. Yes, the initial conversion takes a few seconds, but the resulting memory lasts for years instead of minutes. You invest seconds to save hours of relearning. Myth 2 warns that you'll confuse similar codes and mix up your numbers. This fear is unfounded if you build your system correctly. Each number gets a unique image, and similar-sounding words get different visual representations. The number 31 might be meat, while 32 becomes moon, completely different images that can't be confused. Myth 3 insists your words must be dictionary perfect. Nonsense. Your encoding words only need to be memorable to you. Modo works as well as motor for the number 31. Personal associations trump linguistic precision. Building your personal cipher. Your encoding system starts with mastering the digit-to-consonant table. This is your Rosetta Stone for converting numbers into words. 0 maps to S and Z sounds. Picture a snake hissing. The S sound of 0 and the zigzag shape reinforce this connection. 1 becomes T and D. Think of a pencil with 1 downstroke. 2 transforms into N, the letter with 2 downstrokes. 3 maps to M, 3 downstrokes again. Continue this pattern. 4 becomes R, the word for ends in R. 5 turns into L, hold up your left hand, 4 fingers and thumb make an L shape. 6 maps to J, SH, and CH sounds. The letter J looks like a backward 6. 7 becomes K and hard G, 2 sevens make a K shape. 8 transforms into F and V, a cursive F has 2 loops like an 8. 9 maps to P and B. P is a mirror image of 9. Memorize this table using mini-stories that connect the digit to its sound. For the number 4 mapping to R, imagine 4 pirates saying, "Arr!" For 7 mapping to K, Picture 7 kangaroos hopping in formation. The Noun Factory. Once you've mastered the basic mappings, build your personal noun list for the numbers 00 through 99. This becomes your encoding vocabulary, a collection of vivid, concrete images that represent every 2-digit combination. Choose nouns that create instant mental pictures. For 0SS, you might pick sauce or sassy. For 1T, consider seat or suit. For 10TS, try toes or ties. Each word should trigger an immediate visual image in your mind. Prioritize familiar objects over obscure ones. A car, KR equals 74, beats Krypton because you interact with cars daily. Personal associations trump dictionary definitions. If your grandmother's name was Rose, use Rose for 45S, even if race fits better phonetically. Build your list systematically, but don't aim for perfection on the first pass. Start with the most common numbers you encounter. Phone area codes, important dates, frequently used passwords. You can always refine and expand later. The sensory amplifier. Converting numbers to words is just the first step. The real magic happens when you transform those words into multi-sensory experiences that burn themselves into memory. Take the number 31459. Using the major system, this becomes MTRLP, which you can encode as Motor Lab. But don't stop at the word, build the scene. Picture a gleaming laboratory filled with roaring motorcycle engines. Smell the motor oil and gasoline. Hear the thunderous revving that shakes the walls. Feel the vibrations through your feet. Motion amplifies memory. Make your images move, crash, explode, or dance. A static motor becomes forgettable, but a motorcycle bursting through laboratory walls creates an unforgettable scene. Sound adds another layer of stickiness. Your motor lab doesn't just contain engines, it contains screaming, roaring, backfiring engines that assault your eardrums. The more senses you engage, the more retrieval pathways you create. The emotion engine. Here's the secret weapon that separates good encoders from great ones: emotional tags. Your brain prioritizes emotionally charged information because emotions signal importance. A neutral image of a motor might fade, but a motor that fills you with excitement, terror, or disgust becomes unforgettable. Attach emotional reactions to your encoded images. That motor lab isn't just loud, it's thrillingly dangerous, with sparks flying and engines exploding in spectacular fashion. You're not just observing, you're experiencing joy, fear, or amazement. Disgust works particularly well because your brain evolved to remember contaminated or dangerous substances. A motor lab covered in slimy, putrid oil creates a visceral reaction that locks the image in memory. Shock and surprise also create powerful memory anchors. Your motor lab suddenly transforms into a dance studio where engines waltz together in perfect harmony. The unexpected twist makes the image impossible to forget. The speed drills. Practice transforms encoding from conscious effort into automatic reflex. Start with phone numbers. They're short enough to encode quickly, but long enough to prove your system works. Take a random 7-digit number like 5847291. Break it into chunks, 5847291. Convert each chunk, lava, LV58, rock, RK47, Napi, Ping29, and T1. Now build the scene. Lava rock's taking a nap while drinking tea. Time yourself. Your goal is converting any phone number into a memorable image within 30 seconds. This might seem impossible at first, but with practice, the encoding becomes as automatic as reading. Once phone numbers become easy, tackle longer sequences. Credit card numbers provide excellent practice, 16 digits that you can encode into 8 vivid images. Social security numbers, account codes, and important dates all become fair game. The palace integration. Your encoded images mean nothing until they're properly stored in your memory palace. This is where spatial structure meets visual encoding to create permanent memories. Place your lava rocks napping with tea scene at your first locus, perhaps your front door. Don't just drop the image there like a photograph. Integrate it with the location. The lava rocks are sprawled across your doorstep, steam rising from their surface, while they sip tea from tiny cups balanced on the door handle. The integration creates multiple retrieval pathways. You can access the number by walking through your palace, by thinking about your front door, or by recalling the image of napping lava rocks. This redundancy makes forgetting nearly impossible. Move systematically through your palace, placing one encoded image per locus. Don't overcrowd. Each location should contain a single clear scene. If you need to store more numbers, use multiple palaces or expand your current one with additional rooms. The interference shield. As your encoding vocabulary grows, you'll face the challenge of similar-sounding words creating memory conflicts. The key is building in error detection mechanisms that catch mistakes before they corrupt your stored data. Use checksum images, visual elements that confirm you've recalled the correct number. If 47 always appears as a rock, make sure your rock has a distinctive feature like a golden stripe or a peculiar shape. This visual signature helps you distinguish between similar images. The performance pyramid. Your encoding skills will develop through 3 distinct levels of mastery. Good means cleanly encoding any 6-digit number after a single pass. You can convert phone numbers into memorable images and recall them hours later without error. This level proves your basic system works and gives you confidence to tackle longer sequences. Excellent means storing 16-digit credit card numbers in under 2 minutes. You can break long number sequences into manageable chunks, encode each piece rapidly, and integrate the resulting images into your palace with perfect accuracy. At this level, no common number sequence poses a challenge. Best means reciting 100-digit chunks flawlessly after 24 hours. You've achieved the encoding speed and accuracy of memory champions, capable of storing massive amounts of numerical data with minimal effort. Your brain has become a precision instrument for converting abstract information into permanent memories. The gateway opens. You now possess the alchemical formula for transforming abstract numbers into concrete memories. Your brain's ancient preference for vivid imagery has become your secret weapon for storing unlimited numerical data. But encoding individual numbers is just the beginning. What if you could compress even more information into each mental image? What if 3 or 4 digits could become a single animated scene that tells a complete story? The masters of memory have developed an advanced technique that turns simple encoding into cinematic experiences, a system so powerful that it can compress an entire deck of cards into just 17 mental images, each more vivid and memorable than the last. PAO Power. You've mastered the art of turning numbers into images. Your encoding system transforms abstract digits into concrete nouns that stick in memory like superglue. But there's a problem lurking beneath this success, a limitation that becomes glaringly obvious the moment you try to memorize something truly challenging. Watch what happens when you attempt to store a 16-digit credit card number using basic encoding. You create 8 separate images, place them in 8 different loci, and feel confident about your system. But then something strange occurs during recall. The images blur together. Was it the motor in the lab, or the lab with the motor? Did the rock come before the T, or after? You've hit the compression ceiling, and breaking through it requires a technique so powerful, so elegant, that it can transform your memory from a simple storage device into a high-definition cinema that never forgets. The animation advantage. Your brain doesn't just remember static images, it remembers stories. Movement, interaction, and narrative create the strongest possible memory traces because they engage multiple neural networks simultaneously. Think about your most vivid childhood memories. You don't recall frozen snapshots. You remember scenes unfolding, people moving, actions happening. Your friend jumping off the diving board. Your dog chasing a ball across the yard. Your teacher writing equations on the blackboard. Motion makes memories stick. This isn't just psychological preference, it's neurological reality. When you imagine movement, your motor cortex activates as if you were actually performing the action. Mirror neurons fire, creating embodied memories that engage your entire brain. Static images use one neural pathway, animated scenes use dozens. The memory masters discovered this principle centuries ago and developed a system that transforms every number sequence into a mini-movie. They call it PAO, Person, Action, Object, and it's about to revolutionize your recall capacity. The Cinematic Compression System. PAO works by assigning 3 elements to every 2-digit number: a specific person, their signature action, and a distinctive object. The number 23 might become Nelson Mandela, person, dancing, action, with a microphone object. The number 47 could be your brother, person, juggling, action, tennis balls, object. The number 72 might be represented by Michael Jackson, person, moonwalking, action, with an umbrella object. But here's where the magic happens. You don't use all 3 elements for every number. Instead, you mix and match them to create impossible, unforgettable scenes. When you need to memorize the 6-digit number 23, 47, 72, you take the person from 23, Nelson Mandela, the action from 47, juggling, the object from 72, umbrella, and create a scene where Mandela juggles umbrellas. One vivid image now contains 6 digits of information, 3 times the compression of basic encoding. For 12-digit sequences, you chain 2 PAO triplets together. The number 23, 47, 72, 89, 13, 22 becomes Nelson Mandela juggling umbrellas, while your mother, person from 89, is painting, action from 13, rocks, object from 22, in the background. You can even bridge the 2 scenes by having an umbrella fall near your mother. 12 digits compressed into a single animated scene that plays like a movie in your mind. The world record holders. Ben Pridmore proved PAO's power by setting multiple world records in memory competitions. His most famous achievement, memorizing a shuffled deck of cards in just 26.28 seconds. But Pridmore wasn't born with superhuman recall. He was an accountant who discovered memory techniques in his 30s. Pridmore's secret was his PAO system. He assigned every possible 2-card combination to a person-action-object triplet, then chained these triplets into flowing narratives. A deck of cards became a series of interconnected scenes playing out across his memory palaces. Where others saw random cards, Pridmore saw coherent stories that were impossible to forget. Jonas von Essen took PAO in a different direction, using it to memorize 501 digits of pi in just 60 seconds. His system assigned PAO triplets to every 3-digit combination, allowing him to compress massive number sequences into compact visual narratives. Each triplet became a scene in an epic story that unfolded across multiple memory palaces. Both champions understood that PAO isn't just about compression, it's about transformation. Numbers become characters, sequences become stories. Abstract data becomes emotional experience. Demolishing the PAO myths. 3 misconceptions prevent most people from attempting PAO mastery. The celebrity encyclopedia myth claims you need to memorize hundreds of famous people to make PAO work. This is backwards thinking. The most effective PAO systems use people you know personally, friends, family members, colleagues, fictional characters from your favorite movies. Familiarity breeds reliability. Your brother's image is more vivid and stable than some random celebrity you've seen twice on television. The complexity myth insists PAO is too complicated for everyday use. Wrong. Once you've built your basic system, PAO becomes faster than simple encoding. Instead of creating 6 separate images for a 12-digit number, you create 2 connected scenes. Less mental effort, better compression, stronger memories. The realism myth demands that your actions must be physically possible. Nonsense. The more absurd and impossible your scenes, the better they stick in memory. Einstein juggling flaming chainsaws while riding a unicorn creates a stronger memory trace than Einstein reading a book. Your brain remembers the bizarre because bizarre things demand attention. Building your cast of characters. Your PAO system starts with assembling a cast of 100 unique people, one for each number from 00 to 99. This becomes your mental repertory company, the actors who will star in every numerical story you create. Start with people you know intimately. Your family members, close friends, colleagues, and neighbors provide the most reliable character base. These people have rich associations in your memory. You know how they move, talk, and behave. This familiarity makes their actions predictable and their images stable. Expand your cast with fictional characters from movies, books, and television shows. Batman, Sherlock Holmes, Harry Potter, and Wonder Woman all make excellent PAO characters because they have distinctive appearances and signature behaviors. Their actions feel natural because you've seen them performed countless times. Historical figures round out your ensemble. Einstein, Napoleon, Cleopatra, and Lincoln bring gravitas and distinctiveness to your system. Choose figures with strong visual associations, people whose appearance and personality are immediately recognizable. Assign each person to a specific 2-digit number using whatever system feels natural. You might use birthdays, ages, the major system, or arbitrary assignments. The key is consistency. Once Einstein represents 14, he always represents 14. No exceptions, no variations. The action catalog. Every person in your PAO system needs a signature action, something they do that's uniquely theirs. This action should be distinctive, memorable, and easy to visualize in motion. Choose actions that match your character's personalities or famous behaviors. Einstein might be calculating equations in the air. Your athletic friend could be running or jumping. Your musical sister might be playing piano or singing. The action should feel natural for that person. Avoid generic actions like walking or standing that could apply to anyone. Instead, choose specific distinctive movements. Moonwalking is better than dancing. Juggling furiously beats juggling. Typing frantically trumps working. The more specific and unusual the action, the stronger the memory trace. Physical actions work better than mental ones because they engage your motor cortex. Punching creates stronger neural activation than thinking. Climbing beats remembering. Your brain evolved to track movement, so give it movement to track. The object arsenal. The third element of your PAO triplet is the object, the prop your character interacts with during their signature action. Like actions, objects should be distinctive, concrete, and visually interesting. Choose objects that create clear mental images. A red sports car is better than vehicle. A golden saxophone beats musical instrument. A crystal chandelier trumps light fixture. Specific details make objects memorable and prevent confusion between similar items. Size variation adds visual interest to your scenes. Mix tiny objects like diamonds with massive ones like elephants. Combine delicate items like butterflies with robust ones like motorcycles. This size contrast makes your scenes more dynamic and memorable. Color coding provides an additional layer of organization. You might assign warm colors, red, orange, yellow, to certain number ranges, and cool colors, blue, green, purple, to others. This chromatic organization helps you navigate your PAO system more efficiently. The fusion formula. Creating PAO scenes requires more than just combining random elements. You need fusion that creates coherent, memorable narratives. The person performs the action with or on the object. Einstein person calculates action using a golden abacus object. Your sister person plays action, a crystal piano object. Batman person draw action, a silver motorcycle object. The interaction should feel natural within the absurd logic of your memory world. Emotional content amplifies memory strength. Make your scenes funny, shocking, or touching. Einstein calculating with an abacus while tears of joy stream down his face. Your sister playing a piano that explodes in colorful fireworks with each note. Batman riding a motorcycle through a field of singing flowers. Emotion creates stickiness. Environmental context grounds your scenes in space. Don't let your characters perform in a void. Place them in specific locations. Einstein calculates at your kitchen table. Your sister plays piano in your living room. Batman rides through your backyard. The spatial anchor prevents scenes from floating away. The chaining challenge. Single PAO triplets handle 6-digit numbers perfectly, but longer sequences require chaining multiple triplets into flowing narratives. This is where PAO transforms from technique into art. For 12-digit numbers, create 2 connected scenes that interact with each other. The first triplet sets up the scenario. The second triplet responds or reacts. 18-digit sequences need 3 triplet chains that unfold like short films. Each scene flows naturally into the next, creating narrative momentum that carries the entire sequence. The key to successful chaining is logical progression. Each new triplet should respond to or build upon the previous one. Avoid random juxtaposition. Create cause and effect, action and reaction, setup and payoff. Your brain remembers stories better than collections of unrelated scenes. The speed training protocol. PAO mastery requires drilling until the conversions become automatic. Your goal is recognizing any two-digit number and instantly visualizing the corresponding person, action, and object without conscious effort. Start with single triplet recognition. Flash yourself random two-digit numbers and practice instantly visualizing the complete PAO scene. Time yourself. You want sub-1 second recognition for any number in your system. This might seem impossible initially, but muscle memory develops quickly with consistent practice. Progress to 6-digit combinations where you mix and match elements from 3 different triplets. The number 23, 47, 72 should instantly trigger Nelson Mandela juggling umbrellas without any conscious calculation. The fusion should feel automatic, natural, inevitable. Advanced training involves 12-digit chains where you create flowing 2-triplet narratives in real time. Practice with credit card numbers, phone numbers, and random sequences until the story creation becomes effortless. The performance benchmarks. Your PAO skills will develop through 3 distinct mastery levels. Good means memorizing any phone number on the first attempt using PAO compression. Phone digits become 2 scenes that stick permanently in memory. You can recall the number hours later by replaying the mini-movie in your mind. Excellent means memorizing a shuffled deck of cards in under 3 minutes. 52 cards become 18 PAO triplets that unfold across your memory palace like an epic film. You can recall the entire sequence in perfect order by walking through your palace and watching the stories play out. Best means achieving tournament-level speed where you can convert any 6-digit number into a PAO scene in under half a second. Your recognition becomes so automatic that numbers instantly transform into vivid narratives without conscious effort. You've achieved the processing speed of memory champions. The troubleshooting toolkit. 3 common problems plague developing PAO systems, but each has a straightforward solution. Character overlap occurs when similar-looking people create confusion in your scenes. If your brother and cousin look too much alike, their PAO scenes might blur together in memory. The fix is simple. Replace the less vivid character with someone completely different. Visual distinctiveness trumps personal relationships in PAO effectiveness. Action ambiguity happens when similar movements create unclear scenes. If both running and jogging appear in your system, the subtle difference might not survive the compression process. Solve this by making actions dramatically different. Replace jogging with pole vaulting or breakdancing, movements that can't be confused with anything else. Scene crowding destroys PAO effectiveness by cramming too much information into each mental location. If you try to place multiple PAO scenes in a single locus, they'll interfere with each other and corrupt your stored data. The solution is strict discipline, 1 PAO scene per locus, no exceptions. If you need more storage space, expand your palace or build additional ones. The cinematic revolution. You now possess the power to transform any numerical sequence into unforgettable cinema. Your brain's love of stories and movement has become your secret weapon for compressing massive amounts of data into compact, retrievable packages. But PAO is just the beginning of your memory transformation. You've built the foundation, mastered the encoding, and learned to create vivid scenes. Now comes the challenge of organizing these powerful techniques into larger structures that can handle the complexity of real-world information. The masters of memory have developed architectural principles that turn individual palaces into vast cities of knowledge, where information flows seamlessly between connected domains and retrieval becomes as natural as walking through your own neighborhood. Chapter 5. Route Design. Your single memory palace has served you well. You've stored phone numbers in the living room, encoded credit card details in the kitchen, and placed important dates along the hallway. But something troubling is happening. The images are starting to blur together. Your brother's PAO scene is somehow interfering with your quarterly sales figures. The route that once felt spacious now feels cramped and chaotic. You've hit the scalability wall, and breaking through it requires thinking like an architect rather than a decorator. What you need isn't more storage space. You need better design principles that can handle the exponential growth of your knowledge without collapsing under its own weight. This is where route design transforms your memory from a single building into an entire city, a vast, organized metropolis where information flows seamlessly between connected districts and every piece of data has its perfect home. The bottleneck crisis. Success creates its own problems. As your memory palace fills with information, you start experiencing cognitive traffic jams. Walking through your route takes longer. Finding specific information becomes harder. New memories interfere with old ones, creating a tangled mess that defeats the entire purpose of organized recall. This isn't a failure of the technique, it's a failure of architecture. You're trying to cram a city's worth of information into a single building. The solution isn't bigger rooms, it's better urban planning. Your brain has natural limits on how much complexity it can handle in a single cognitive space. Psychologists call this the cognitive load threshold, and it kicks in around 5 to 7 distinct elements per mental cluster. Push beyond this limit, and your working memory starts dropping pieces. Your carefully constructed palace becomes a house of cards. But here's the breakthrough insight. You don't need to abandon your current palace. You need to promote it from a standalone building to the flagship structure in a vast memory metropolis. The master architect's vision. Kevin Horsley faced this exact challenge when he set out to memorize 10,000 digits of pi, a feat that would require storing more information than any single palace could handle. His solution was revolutionary. He didn't build one massive palace. He built an entire virtual city. Horsley's memory metropolis spanned multiple interconnected buildings, each dedicated to specific ranges of digits. The first 1,000 digits lived in a replica of his childhood home. The second 1,000 occupied his high school. The third 1,000 filled his university campus. Each building maintained its own distinct character while connecting seamlessly to the others through carefully planned transition routes. The genius of Horsley's approach wasn't just the scale, it was the organization. Each building felt familiar and navigable on its own, but together they formed a coherent urban landscape that could expand infinitely without losing structural integrity. Ed Cook took a different but equally brilliant approach when learning French vocabulary. Instead of cramming thousands of words into a single palace, he mapped different vocabulary themes onto the actual streets of Oxford. Business terms lived along High Street. Academic vocabulary occupied the university district. Casual conversation words filled the residential neighborhoods. The physical geography of the city provided natural organization that made retrieval intuitive and automatic. The zoning revolution. The secret to scalable memory architecture lies in zoning, dedicating specific areas to specific types of information. Just as cities separate residential, commercial, and industrial districts, your memory metropolis needs clear boundaries between different knowledge domains. Your first palace might become your professional zone, housing work-related information like client details, project timelines, and industry frameworks. A second palace could serve as your personal zone, containing family birthdays, social commitments, and household information. A third might function as your learning zone, storing new skills, languages, or academic subjects. This separation isn't just organizational, it's neurological. Different types of information activate different neural networks in your brain. By keeping related concepts together and unrelated ones apart, you reduce interference and strengthen the associative connections that make recall automatic. The zoning principle extends within individual palaces too. Dedicate specific floors or wings to micro-topics. Your professional zone might have one floor for client information, another for financial data, and a third for strategic frameworks. Each zone maintains its own internal logic while contributing to the larger organizational structure. The narrative spine. Random room hopping kills memory palaces. Your brain craves coherent progression, not chaotic jumping between unrelated spaces. This is why successful route design always includes what memory masters call the narrative spine, a logical story thread that connects every location in meaningful sequence. Your narrative doesn't need to be complex or literary. It just needs to make sense to your brain. You might follow the chronological progression of a typical day. Wake up in the bedroom, shower in the bathroom, have coffee in the kitchen, work in the office, relax in the living room. This natural flow creates automatic retrieval cues that guide you through your stored information. Alternatively, you might use spatial logic. Enter through the front door, move systematically through each room, exit through the back door. Or thematic progression. Start with foundational concepts, build through intermediate ideas, culminate with advanced applications. The specific narrative matters less than its consistency and logic. The narrative spine becomes especially crucial when connecting multiple palaces. You need smooth transitions that feel natural rather than jarring. A staircase might lead from your personal zone to your professional zone. A garden path could connect your learning zone to your creative zone. These transition routes become the highways of your memory metropolis. The hierarchical advantage. Flat organizational structures collapse under complexity. Your memory metropolis needs hierarchical architecture that can handle multiple levels of detail without losing coherence. Think of your system like a filing cabinet with nested folders. The top level contains broad categories: professional, personal, learning. The second level breaks these into subcategories. Within professional, you might have clients, projects, and strategies. The third level gets specific. Within clients, you have individual client folders with detailed information. This hierarchical nesting prevents information overload by chunking related concepts together. Instead of trying to remember 50 individual client details, you remember 5 client categories with 10 details each. Your working memory handles the category level, while the spatial structure manages the details. The hierarchy also enables rapid navigation. You can zoom in from the city level to the building level to the room level to the specific locus level. This multi-scale organization mirrors how your brain naturally processes information, from general to specific, from abstract to concrete. The transition architecture. The weakest points in any memory system are the connections between different areas. Poorly designed transitions create cognitive friction that slows retrieval and increases forgetting. Master architects obsess over these connection points because they make or break the entire system. Vertical transitions, staircases, elevators, ladders signal major category shifts and help reset your mental state. When you climb from the first floor, basic concepts, to the second floor, intermediate applications, your brain automatically adjusts its expectations. This vertical movement prevents different knowledge levels from interfering with each other. Horizontal transitions, doorways, hallways, bridges, connect related but distinct information domains. The doorway between your client information room and your project management room signals a shift in focus while maintaining thematic continuity. These transitions should feel natural and inevitable, not forced or arbitrary. Portal transitions, magical doorways, teleportation devices, secret passages, handle connections between completely different palaces. When you need to jump from your professional zone to your personal zone, a portal provides the necessary cognitive break that prevents information bleeding between domains. The color coding system. Visual organization amplifies memory performance by providing additional retrieval cues that operate below conscious awareness. Color coding your memory metropolis creates an instant navigation system that guides you to the right information without conscious effort. Assign specific colors to different knowledge domains. Your professional zone might be blue, your personal zone green, your learning zone red. These chromatic signatures help you orient quickly within your memory landscape and prevent accidental cross-domain contamination. Extend the color system to subcategories within each zone. Within your blue professional zone, client information might be light blue, financial data dark blue, and strategic frameworks navy blue. This graduated color scheme provides fine-grained navigation while maintaining the overall organizational structure. The colors don't need to be visually perfect, they just need to be consistent. Your brain will learn to associate specific hues with specific information types, creating automatic sorting mechanisms that operate faster than conscious thought. The expansion protocol. Your memory metropolis must be designed for growth from day one. Static systems become obsolete as your knowledge expands. Dynamic systems evolve with your needs while maintaining structural integrity. Plan expansion zones. Empty lots where new buildings can be constructed as needed. When you start learning a new language, you don't want to cram vocabulary into existing palaces. You want a dedicated space that can grow into a full linguistic district. Design modular connections that can accommodate new palaces without disrupting existing routes. Your transition architecture should be flexible enough to handle additional buildings, floors, or entire districts as your knowledge base expands. Create archive protocols for information that becomes obsolete. Old project details don't need to occupy prime real estate in your active memory zones. Move them to archive palaces that remain accessible but don't clutter your primary navigation routes. The performance metrics. Your route design skills will develop through 3 distinct mastery levels, each representing a quantum leap in organizational capability. Good means creating a seamless 50 loci flow without derailment. You can navigate through multiple rooms or buildings in logical sequence, storing and retrieving information without confusion or interference. Your routes feel natural and your transitions smooth. Excellent means operating 3 thematic palaces with cross-reference tagging systems. You can instantly jump between your professional, personal, and learning zones while maintaining perfect information segregation. Your memory metropolis functions like a well-designed city with distinct districts and efficient transportation. Best means building an integrated memory metropolis where any stored fact can be retrieved in under 15 seconds. You've achieved the organizational mastery of memory champions, capable of handling unlimited information growth while maintaining instant access to every detail. The navigation disasters. 3 architectural failures destroy most memory cities before they reach maturity, but each has a proven solution. Route loops create double-back confusion that corrupts your stored information. When your pathway circles back on itself, you end up placing new memories on top of old ones, creating interference and forgetting. The fix is inserting one-way directional markers, mental arrows or signs that prevent backtracking and maintain forward momentum through your routes. Dead-end loci become forgettable because they break the narrative flow of your journey. Information stored in dead ends gets stranded without natural retrieval cues. Solve this by adding exit portals that connect dead ends to main routes, or by merging isolated loci into larger, more connected spaces. Over-theme overlap occurs when similar information types bleed between different zones, creating confusion about where specific details belong. If your client information starts mixing with your personal contacts, you've lost the organizational advantage that makes zoning powerful. The solution is moving conflicting subtopics to satellite palaces that maintain clear separation while remaining accessible through portal connections. The metropolitan mind. You now possess the architectural principles that transform isolated memory palaces into vast, organized cities of knowledge. Your brain's natural preference for hierarchical organization and narrative flow has become the foundation for unlimited information storage that scales with your ambitions. But even the most perfectly designed memory metropolis is worthless without regular maintenance. Information decays, routes become stale, and even the strongest memories fade without proper care. The masters of memory have developed systematic protocols that keep their mental cities fresh, accurate, and instantly accessible for decades. The ancient art of recall cycles holds the secret to making your memories as permanent as the architecture that contains them. Chapter 6: Recall Cycles. You've built the perfect memory palace. Your spatial blueprint is flawless. Your encoding system transforms numbers into vivid imagery. Your PAO scenes play like Hollywood blockbusters, and your route design rivals the greatest architectural achievements in history. You store a crucial presentation in your palace. Walk through it once to check everything is in place, then close your mental doors with complete confidence. 3 weeks later, you stand before your most important clients, ready to deliver the performance of your career. You enter your palace and discover a horror scene. Half the images have faded to shadows. The PAO scenes play in slow motion, and entire sections of your route have simply vanished into the void. You've just learned the most brutal truth about memory. Storage is not retention. Building a palace is not enough. Even the most perfectly constructed memory system will crumble without the secret maintenance protocol that separates amateurs from masters. The retrieval revelation. Here's what every memory book gets wrong. They focus on getting information into your brain instead of getting it back out. They teach encoding, palace construction, and visualization techniques, then assume the hard work is done. But neuroscience reveals a shocking truth. Memories aren't built during storage. They're built during retrieval. Every time you recall information, you're not just accessing it, you're reconstructing it. Your brain rebuilds the memory from scattered neural fragments, and this reconstruction process actually strengthens the connections between those fragments. The act of remembering makes memories more memorable. This is why students who reread their notes perform worse than students who test themselves. Rereading feels productive because it's easy and familiar, but it creates what psychologists call the illusion of competence. You mistake recognition for recall, familiarity for mastery. When exam day arrives, you discover that recognizing information when you see it is completely different from retrieving it when you need it. Your memory palace faces the same challenge. Walking through your routes while looking at your notes feels like successful review, but it's actually the weakest possible form of practice. Real memory strength comes from closing the notes, entering your palace blind, and forcing your brain to reconstruct every image, every scene, every connection from pure recall. The spacing secret. The timing of your retrieval practice determines whether your memories last days or decades. Cram all your reviews into a single session, and you'll achieve short-term familiarity that evaporates within weeks. Space your reviews across strategic intervals, and you'll build permanent memories that strengthen with age. This spacing effect was discovered over a century ago by German psychologist Hermann Ebbinghaus, who mapped the precise curve of human forgetting. His research revealed that memories decay exponentially. You lose most of your retention in the first few hours, then the forgetting rate slows dramatically. But here's the crucial insight. Each successful retrieval resets the forgetting curve at a higher baseline. The first retrieval might extend your memory from hours to days. The second retrieval extends it from days to weeks. The third pushes it from weeks to months. By the fourth successful retrieval, you've built a memory that can last years or even decades with minimal maintenance. But the intervals between retrievals must increase progressively. Review too soon, and you're wasting effort on memories that haven't had time to weaken. Review too late, and you're trying to reconstruct memories that have already faded beyond recovery. The optimal spacing requires surgical precision. The 4-stage protocol. Memory masters have refined the spacing intervals through centuries of experimentation, arriving at a 4-stage protocol that maximizes retention while minimizing effort. Stage 1 happens 10 minutes after initial encoding. This immediate review catches any encoding errors while the information is still fresh in your working memory. You're not building long-term retention yet. You're debugging your storage system and ensuring everything was recorded correctly. Stage 2 occurs 24 hours later. This is where real memory building begins. Your brain has had time to begin the forgetting process. so successful retrieval requires genuine effort. The struggle to remember actually strengthens the neural pathways, creating the first layer of durable retention. Stage 3 happens 1 week after encoding. By now, your memory has weakened significantly, making retrieval challenging but still achievable. This successful recall creates a dramatic strengthening effect, pushing your retention curve into the weeks to months range. Stage 4 occurs 1 month after encoding. This final retrieval locks the information into long-term storage, creating memories that can last years with minimal maintenance. You've essentially made the information part of your permanent knowledge base. The reverse engineering challenge. Forward recall, walking through your palace from beginning to end, creates strong but fragile memories. You learn the sequence perfectly, but you become dependent on that sequence. Disrupt the order, and your entire recall system collapses. Master practitioners solve this problem through reverse engineering, literally walking through their palaces backwards, from the last locus to the first. This reverse practice creates order-independent memories that can be accessed from any starting point. Reverse walking feels awkward initially because it fights against your brain's natural preference for forward progression. But this awkwardness is precisely what makes it valuable. The extra cognitive effort required to navigate backwards creates stronger, more flexible neural pathways. Start with short reverse segments before attempting full palace reversals. Practice walking backwards through individual rooms, then floors, then entire buildings. The goal isn't speed, it's building robust memories that can survive disruption, interruption, and random access demands. The random access revolution. Sequential recall is just the beginning. True memory mastery requires random access, the ability to jump to any locus instantly without walking through the preceding route. This transforms your palace from a linear story into a searchable database. Practice random locus jumping by calling out numbers and immediately accessing the corresponding location. If locus 7 contains your quarterly sales figures, you should be able to jump there instantly without visiting loci 1 through 6 first. This random accessibility proves your memories are truly independent and robust. Random access practice reveals weak points in your palace architecture. Loci that are difficult to reach randomly usually indicate poor spatial anchoring or insufficient distinctiveness. These problem areas need reinforcement through additional encoding or route redesign. The ultimate random access test is the interrupt and resume drill. Start recalling your palace, stop at a random point, perform an unrelated mental task, then resume from exactly where you left off. This simulates real-world conditions where you'll need to access stored information despite distractions and interruptions. The movement multiplier. Physical movement during recall practice creates embodied memories that engage your entire nervous system. When you pace while reviewing your palace, you're not just thinking about movement, you're actually moving, which activates the same motor cortex networks that make spatial navigation so powerful. The movement doesn't need to be elaborate. Simple pacing, walking in place, or even rhythmic hand gestures can amplify your recall practice. The key is consistency. Use the same movement patterns for the same types of information, creating physical anchors that support mental retrieval. Some memory champions practice their palaces while actually walking through physical spaces that mirror their mental routes. They might walk through their neighborhood while recalling a palace based on their house, creating perfect alignment between mental and physical navigation. Voice recording adds another layer of embodied practice. Record yourself reciting your palace contents, then listen back while walking or exercising. This auditory reinforcement creates additional retrieval pathways while allowing you to practice during otherwise unproductive time, like commutes or workouts. The error intelligence system. Most people treat memory errors as failures to be ignored. Memory masters treat them as intelligence to be analyzed. Every forgotten locus, every confused sequence, every faded image provides valuable data about your system's weak points. Keep a debug sheet that tracks your retrieval errors across practice sessions. Note which loci consistently cause problems, which types of information fade fastest, and which routes become confused most easily. These patterns reveal systematic issues that can be fixed through targeted interventions. Encoding errors usually indicate insufficient vividness or poor spatial anchoring. If you consistently forget what's stored at a particular locus, the image probably isn't distinctive enough, or the location isn't clearly defined. Fix these by adding sensory details, emotional content, or clearer spatial boundaries. Route errors suggest architectural problems like ambiguous transitions or similar-looking locations. If you consistently get lost at the same point in your palace, you need better navigation markers or clearer route definition. Add distinctive landmarks, color coding, or transition rituals that make the pathway unmistakable. The plateau breakthrough. Even the most diligent practice eventually hits plateaus where improvement stalls and boredom sets in. Your brain adapts to familiar patterns, reducing the cognitive effort that drives memory strengthening. Breaking through these plateaus requires strategic novelty injection. Emotional retagging refreshes stale images by adding new feelings or associations. That boring statistical chart becomes a thrilling treasure map. The dry client presentation transforms into an epic adventure story. The emotional novelty reactivates your brain's attention systems, restoring the encoding strength of familiar information. Sensory rotation prevents adaptation by cycling through different sensory modalities during practice. One session focuses on visual details, the next emphasizes sounds and textures, the third adds smells and tastes. This sensory variety prevents any single pathway from becoming overly familiar and losing its effectiveness. Context variation breaks location dependence by practicing your palace in different physical environments. Review at home, in the office, during travel, while exercising. This environmental diversity creates context-independent memories that remain accessible regardless of external circumstances. The performance ladder. Your recall mastery develops through 3 distinct performance levels, each representing a quantum leap in memory reliability. Good means achieving 95% accuracy after 30 days. Your spaced retrieval practice has created durable memories that survive the initial forgetting curve. You can access stored information reliably, though it might require conscious effort and sequential navigation. Excellent means completing full palace recall in under 60 seconds. Your practice has created automatic retrieval pathways that operate at near-thought speed. You can zip through entire memory structures almost instantly, accessing any stored information without conscious struggle. Best means delivering fluid presentations while exercising with 0 external prompts. Your embodied practice has created memories so robust they remain accessible even under physical stress and cognitive load. You've achieved the ultimate integration of mental and physical performance. The maintenance disasters. 3 common failures destroy even well-practiced memory systems, but each has a proven recovery protocol. Skipped intervals break the spacing effect by allowing memories to decay beyond easy recovery. When you miss a scheduled review session, don't try to resume the normal schedule. Restart with shorter intervals to rebuild the weakened connections. Better to over-practice than to lose the information entirely. Route order collapse happens when forward practice creates sequence dependence that breaks under pressure. The fix is immediate reverse and random access drilling to rebuild order-independent pathways. Don't just practice harder, practice differently. Boredom plateau occurs when familiar practice patterns stop driving improvement. Combat this with novelty injection, sensory rotation, and context variation. Your brain needs surprise and challenge to maintain peak encoding strength. The permanent installation. You now understand the secret that separates temporary storage from permanent installation. Your memory palace isn't complete when you finish building it. It's complete when you finish maintaining it through systematic retrieval cycles that transform fragile storage into unshakable knowledge. But even the most perfectly maintained individual palaces eventually hit capacity limits. As your knowledge grows and your ambitions expand, You'll need systems that can scale beyond single buildings to handle the complexity of entire domains of expertise. The masters of memory have developed scaling protocols that transform isolated palaces into vast, interconnected networks where information flows seamlessly between related domains and growth becomes limitless. Chapter 7: Scaling Systems. Your memory palace has become a masterpiece. Every locus pulses with vivid information. Your recall cycles have locked everything into permanent storage, and you can navigate your mental architecture with the confidence of someone who owns every inch of the territory. But success breeds new challenges, and yours is approaching fast. Your boss assigns you 3 new projects. Your spouse asks you to remember the details of your upcoming family reunion. Your industry introduces new regulations you need to master. Your hobby demands deeper technical knowledge. Suddenly, you're trying to cram a university's worth of information into a single building designed for a semester's worth of content. You've hit the scaling crisis, and solving it requires thinking beyond individual palaces to something far more ambitious: a complete memory operating system that can grow with your life without losing its precision or speed. The capacity catastrophe. Every memory palace has a breaking point. Push too much information into a single structure, and you trigger what cognitive scientists call interference cascades, where new memories corrupt old ones. Similar information blurs together, and your carefully organized system becomes a chaotic mess. The problem isn't just volume, it's variety. Your brain handles related information beautifully when it's grouped together, but struggles when unrelated concepts share the same mental space. Client details interfere with family birthdays. Technical specifications contaminate creative projects. Work presentations corrupt personal memories. You could try building one massive palace with hundreds of loci, but that creates its own problems. Navigation becomes sluggish. Retrieval takes longer. The cognitive load of managing such complexity actually reduces your mental performance instead of enhancing it. The solution isn't bigger palaces, it's smarter systems. You need to think like a city planner rather than a building architect, designing interconnected networks that can handle unlimited growth while maintaining instant access to any stored information. The Buffett Blueprint. Warren Buffett has spent over 60 years building what might be the world's most valuable memory system. His mind contains detailed financial data on thousands of companies spanning decades of market history. Annual reports, earnings statements, competitive analyses, management assessments, all stored with perfect accuracy and instant accessibility. Buffett's secret isn't superhuman memory, it's systematic organization. He doesn't cram everything into a single mental filing cabinet. Instead, he maintains separate memory structures for different investment domains. Insurance companies in one system, consumer brands in another, technology firms in a third. Each domain has its own organizational logic while connecting seamlessly to the others. When Buffett evaluates a potential investment, he can instantly access relevant comparisons from similar companies, historical precedents from different eras, and cross-industry patterns that reveal hidden opportunities. His memory system doesn't just store information, it creates connections that generate insights impossible to achieve with scattered, unorganized recall. The genius of Buffett's approach is its scalability. As new companies enter his investment universe, they slot naturally into existing categories without disrupting the overall structure. His system grows organically while maintaining its speed and precision. The Parallel Palace Revolution. The key to unlimited scaling lies in parallel processing, running multiple memory palaces simultaneously, each dedicated to specific domains of your life. Instead of one overloaded structure, you create a network of specialized buildings that work together seamlessly. Your professional palace handles work-related information, client details, project timelines, industry knowledge, strategic frameworks. Your personal palace manages family and social information, birthdays, anniversaries, vacation plans, household details. Your learning palace stores educational content, new skills, languages, academic subjects, hobby knowledge. Each palace maintains its own internal logic and organizational structure. Your professional palace might be organized chronologically, with current projects on the ground floor and future initiatives on upper levels. Your personal palace could follow relationship categories, with family in one wing and friends in another. Your learning palace might use subject hierarchies, with foundational concepts in the basement and advanced applications in the penthouse. The parallel approach prevents interference by keeping unrelated information in separate mental spaces. Your client presentation can't contaminate your anniversary plans because they live in completely different buildings. Your language learning won't interfere with your technical training because they occupy distinct palaces with unique organizational systems. The Master Index Architecture. Managing multiple palaces requires a navigation system that can instantly direct you to the right building for any query. Memory masters solve this with what they call a directory palace, a master index that maps topics to specific memory structures. Your directory palace might be a simple library with different sections representing different life domains. The business section contains portals to your professional palaces. The personal section links to your family and social structures. The education section connects to your learning palaces. Each portal is clearly marked and instantly recognizable. The directory system works like a mental DNS server, translating your information requests into specific palace addresses. When you need to recall a client's preferences, your directory instantly routes you to the appropriate section of your professional palace. When you want to remember your nephew's birthday, it guides you to the family wing of your personal palace. This indexing approach scales infinitely. As you add new palaces for new life domains, you simply add new sections to your directory. The navigation overhead remains constant regardless of how many specialized structures you're managing. The architectural differentiation strategy. One of the biggest challenges in parallel palacing is preventing different structures from blurring together in your memory. When all your palaces look similar, you risk storing information in the wrong building or confusing the layouts between different structures. The solution is radical architectural differentiation. Make each palace so visually distinct that confusion becomes impossible. Your professional palace might be a sleek, modern office building with glass and steel. Your personal palace could be a cozy cottage with wooden beams and stone fireplaces. Your learning palace might be a futuristic space station with metallic corridors and glowing panels. These architectural differences aren't just aesthetic, they're functional. The visual contrast helps your brain maintain clear boundaries between different information domains. When you enter your cottage-style personal palace, your mind automatically shifts into personal mode, priming you for family and social information. Color coding amplifies this differentiation effect. Assign specific color schemes to each palace: cool blues for professional information, warm earth tones for personal content, bright metallics for learning materials. These chromatic signatures provide instant orientation cues that operate below conscious awareness. The Portal Network Protocol. Isolated palaces create their own problems by making cross-domain connections difficult. Sometimes you need to link professional information with personal details or connect learning content with work applications. Rigid separation can be as limiting as chaotic mixing. The solution is a portal network, strategic connections between related palaces that allow controlled information flow without creating interference. These portals work like doorways between buildings, clearly marked and purposefully placed. A portal might connect your client information section with your personal networking area, allowing you to remember which clients you've met at social events. Another portal could link your technical learning palace with your professional project palace, enabling you to apply new skills to current work challenges. The key is making portals intentional and limited. Too many connections create the same interference problems you're trying to avoid. Too few connections make your system rigid and inflexible. The optimal approach is strategic linking that supports natural information flows while maintaining clear domain boundaries. The Archive and Migration System. Not all information deserves permanent residence in your active memory palaces. Old project details, outdated technical knowledge, and historical personal information can clutter your primary structures without providing ongoing value. Memory masters solve this with archive palaces, specialized structures for information that needs to be preserved but not actively accessed. These archives work like storage units, keeping old information available while removing it from your primary navigation routes. The migration process requires systematic evaluation of your stored information. Quarterly reviews identify content that has become obsolete or rarely accessed. This information gets moved to appropriate archive palaces, freeing up prime real estate in your active structures. Archive palaces don't need the same level of detail or accessibility as active ones. They can be more densely packed and less frequently maintained. The goal is preservation, not performance. You want the information available if needed, but not cluttering your daily mental workspace. The freshness maintenance protocol. Even well-organized palace networks degrade over time without proper maintenance. Images fade, connections weaken, and organizational systems become stale. Scaling systems require systematic freshness protocols that keep your entire network operating at peak performance. Image freshness audits identify visual elements that have lost their vividness or distinctiveness. These degraded images get refreshed with new sensory details, emotional content, or contextual associations. The goal is maintaining the encoding strength that makes recall automatic and effortless. Organizational freshness involves evaluating whether your current palace structures still match your information needs. As your life evolves, your memory organization should evolve with it. New job responsibilities might require restructuring your professional palace. Changed family dynamics could demand reorganizing your personal palace. Connection freshness examines the portal network between palaces, ensuring that cross-domain links remain relevant and useful. Outdated connections get removed, new ones get added, and existing ones get strengthened through regular use. The performance benchmarks. Your scaling mastery develops through 3 distinct levels of system sophistication. Good means operating separate palaces for at least 2 major life domains without interference. You can switch between professional and personal memory structures cleanly, storing and retrieving domain-specific information without confusion or contamination. Excellent means locating any stored fact across your entire palace network in under 2 minutes. Your directory system and portal network functions smoothly, allowing rapid navigation to any information regardless of which palace contains it. Best means operating a 1,000 loci network with less than 1% error rate. You've achieved the organizational mastery of memory champions, capable of managing vast amounts of information across multiple domains while maintaining perfect accuracy and instant access. The system failures. 3 common problems destroy most scaling attempts, but each has a proven solution. Palace interference occurs when similar information from different domains contaminates each other. The fix is stronger architectural differentiation and clearer boundary markers. Make your palaces so visually distinct that confusion becomes impossible. Archive amnesia happens when information gets moved to storage and then forgotten completely. Solve this with scheduled archive reviews and clear migration documentation. Your archived information should be preserved, not lost. Index overload occurs when your directory system becomes so complex that navigation overhead defeats the efficiency gains. The solution is simplifying your indexing structure and merging underutilized palace categories. The infinite expansion. You now possess the architectural principles that transform individual memory palaces into vast, scalable networks capable of handling unlimited information growth. Your brain's natural preference for organized, categorized knowledge has become the foundation for a memory operating system that grows with your ambitions. But even the most perfectly scaled memory network is vulnerable to a subtle enemy that destroys more memory systems than any architectural flaw or maintenance failure. This enemy operates silently, corrupting your most carefully constructed palaces from within, turning your greatest memory strengths into unexpected weaknesses. The ancient masters knew this enemy well and developed sophisticated countermeasures that separate temporary memory tricks from permanent cognitive transformation. Chapter 8, Mastery Pitfalls. You've reached the summit. Your memory palace network spans multiple domains. Your recall cycles have locked information into permanent storage, and your scaling systems handle unlimited growth with surgical precision. Colleagues marvel at your flawless presentations. Friends are amazed by your perfect recall of names, dates, and details. You've become the person everyone turns to when they need to remember something important. Then it happens. You're delivering your most crucial presentation when suddenly your palace feels different. The images that once blazed with vivid clarity now seem dim and lifeless. The PAO scenes that used to play like Hollywood blockbusters now stutter and fade. Your perfectly organized routes feel cluttered and confusing. You stumble through your content, relying on notes you haven't needed in months. You've encountered the hidden enemy that destroys more memory masters than any external challenge, the slow, insidious decay that comes with success itself. The invisible erosion. Mastery creates its own vulnerabilities. As your memory system becomes more reliable, you become less vigilant about maintaining it. As recall becomes automatic, you stop noticing the subtle signs of degradation. As confidence builds, you assume that perfect performance will continue indefinitely without conscious effort. This isn't laziness, it's human nature. Your brain is designed to automate successful patterns, shifting them from conscious control to unconscious operation. This automation is usually beneficial, freeing up mental resources for new challenges. But memory palaces require a delicate balance between automatic operation and conscious maintenance. The erosion starts small. A single image loses some of its vividness. A PAO scene plays a bit slower than usual. A route transition feels slightly less smooth. These micro-degradations are barely noticeable individually, but they compound over time like interest working in reverse. What begins as minor inefficiency eventually becomes system-wide failure. The cruel irony is that the better your memory system becomes, the more vulnerable it is to this invisible decay. Beginners constantly monitor their performance because they expect problems. Masters stop monitoring because they expect perfection. This confidence gap creates blind spots that allow serious issues to develop undetected. The overconfidence trap. Success breeds a dangerous myth that perfect recall, once achieved, becomes permanent and unshakable. This belief leads to what psychologists call the expert blind spot, the inability to see problems that would be obvious to less experienced practitioners. Memory masters who fall into this trap stop doing the basic maintenance that created their expertise in the first place. They skip recall cycles because the information is already locked in. They avoid testing their systems because everything is working perfectly. They stop refining their techniques because mastery has been achieved. This overconfidence manifests in subtle but destructive ways. You might notice that a particular locus feels less vivid than usual, but dismiss it as temporary fatigue. You might struggle to recall a specific detail, but attribute it to distraction rather than system degradation. You might find yourself relying more on notes during presentations, but rationalize it as being extra prepared. Each rationalization weakens your diagnostic ability, making it harder to spot real problems when they emerge. You develop what memory researchers call illusion of competence, the dangerous belief that recognition equals recall, that familiarity equals mastery, that past performance guarantees future results. The detail density paradox. One of the most counterintuitive pitfalls facing advanced practitioners is the belief that more detail always equals better recall. This seems logical. Richer images should be more memorable. More elaborate scenes should be more distinctive. More complex routes should provide more storage capacity. But cognitive science reveals a shocking truth. Past a certain point, additional detail actually impairs recall performance. Your working memory has limited processing capacity, and overloaded images consume more cognitive resources than they provide in retrieval benefits. The optimal image contains just enough detail to be distinctive and memorable, but not so much that it becomes cognitively expensive to process. A red sports car speeding through your living room is perfect. A cherry red 1967 Ferrari 275 GTB with wire wheels, leather interior, and chrome exhaust pipes speeding through your living room while Frank Sinatra plays on the radio and the scent of Italian leather fills the air is cognitive overkill. This detailed density paradox catches many advanced practitioners who assume that their improved skills mean they can handle more complex imagery. They progressively add layers of sensory detail, emotional content, and contextual information until their images become so elaborate that recall actually slows down rather than speeding up. The diagnostic framework. Preventing mastery pitfalls requires systematic monitoring that operates independently of your confidence level. You need diagnostic protocols that detect problems before they become failures, catching degradation while it's still easily reversible. The foundation of effective diagnosis is regular, objective testing that bypasses your subjective impressions. Weekly micro-quizzes provide this objectivity by randomly sampling your stored information without warning or preparation. Pick 5 random loci from different palaces and test your recall accuracy, speed, and vividness. These microtests reveal patterns that subjective assessment misses. You might discover that information stored on Mondays consistently degrades faster than information stored on other days, suggesting that your Monday encoding sessions lack sufficient attention or energy. You might find that certain types of information fade more quickly than others, indicating systematic weaknesses in your encoding approach. Error logging transforms failures from frustrations into intelligence. Every forgotten detail, every confused sequence, every faded image provides valuable data about your system's weak points. Track these errors systematically, noting the type of information, the storage location, the time since encoding, and any potential contributing factors. The 3-stage repair protocol. When diagnostic testing reveals problems, you need systematic repair protocols that address root causes rather than just symptoms. The 3-stage approach, detect, diagnose, redesign, provides a comprehensive framework for restoring degraded memory systems. Detection involves identifying the specific nature and scope of the problem. Is it a single corrupted locus, a degraded route section, or a system-wide issue? Is the problem affecting visual imagery, spatial navigation, or retrieval timing? Precise problem definition determines the appropriate repair strategy. Diagnosis digs deeper to understand why the problem occurred. Was the original encoding insufficient? Has the information become less relevant over time? Are similar memories creating interference? Has the spatial anchor become ambiguous? Understanding causation prevents the same problem from recurring after repair. Redesign implements targeted fixes that address the diagnosed root causes. This might involve refreshing faded imagery with new sensory details, relocating information to clearer spatial anchors, or restructuring routes to eliminate interference. The goal isn't just restoration, it's improvement that makes the system more robust than before. The refresh revolution. Stale imagery is the most common cause of memory degradation, but it's also the easiest to fix. The refresh process involves systematically updating your stored images with new sensory details, emotional content, or contextual associations that restore their encoding strength. The Rule of 3 provides a simple framework for effective refreshing. Add or enhance color, motion, and emotion. A faded image of a blue car becomes a blazing sapphire race car exploding through your kitchen while you cheer with excitement. The enhanced sensory details, dynamic movement, and emotional content combine to restore the image's memorability. Shock value refreshing works by adding unexpected or impossible elements that violate your brain's expectations. That boring statistical chart becomes a singing, dancing graph that performs Broadway numbers while juggling flaming calculators. The absurdity creates strong memory traces that resist future fading. Environmental refreshing involves changing the contextual setting of your stored information. Move that client presentation from your office to a tropical beach, complete with palm trees, ocean waves, and steel drum music. The novel environment provides new associative hooks that strengthen recall pathways. The teaching multiplier. One of the most powerful tools for preventing mastery pitfalls is teaching others. When you explain memory techniques to someone else, you're forced to articulate principles that have become unconscious, identify weak points that you've learned to work around, and demonstrate skills that you've taken for granted. Teaching reveals gaps in your own understanding that self-practice misses. When a student asks why a particular technique works, you might discover that your explanation is incomplete or incorrect. When they struggle with a concept that seems obvious to you, you're forced to break it down into clearer components. The act of demonstration also reinforces your own neural pathways. When you show someone how to encode a number sequence, you're practicing the skill yourself. When you guide them through a palace walkthrough, you're strengthening your own spatial navigation. Teaching becomes a form of distributed practice that maintains your skills while helping others. Student questions often reveal problems you've stopped noticing. They might point out that your route has an ambiguous transition, that your PAO character looks too similar to another one, or that your encoding system has an internal inconsistency. Fresh eyes see issues that expert eyes have learned to ignore. The gamification solution. Boredom is the silent killer of memory systems. As techniques become automatic and recall becomes effortless, the practice that maintains your skills can feel tedious and unnecessary. Gamification provides the engagement and motivation needed to sustain long-term practice. Timer races transform routine recall practice into competitive challenges. How quickly can you navigate through your entire professional palace? Can you beat your previous record for encoding a 20-digit number? Can you recall 50 random facts faster than last week? The competitive element maintains engagement while providing objective performance metrics. Point systems create ongoing motivation for maintenance activities. Award yourself points for completing recall cycles, refreshing stale images, or teaching others. Track your scores over time and celebrate achievements. The external reward structure compensates for the reduced intrinsic motivation that comes with mastery. Collaborative challenges involve competing or cooperating with other memory practitioners. Compare palace architectures, share encoding innovations, or compete in recall speed contests. The social element provides accountability and motivation while exposing you to new techniques and perspectives. The performance recovery ladder. Your ability to identify and fix memory problems develops through 3 distinct mastery levels. Good means successfully identifying and repairing one corrupted memory sequence. You can spot obvious problems like faded imagery or confused routes, and you know how to apply basic refresh techniques to restore functionality. This level proves you understand the diagnostic and repair principles. Excellent means spotting and patching errors in real time during presentations or conversations. You can detect memory problems as they occur and implement immediate workarounds or repairs without disrupting your performance. This level demonstrates true mastery of meta-memory monitoring. Best means coaching others while simultaneously reinforcing your own memory systems. You can teach memory techniques effectively while using the teaching process to maintain and improve your own skills. This level represents the ultimate integration of mastery and maintenance. The maintenance disasters. 3 common mistakes destroy most repair attempts, turning minor problems into major system failures. Debug fatigue occurs when you try to fix everything at once in marathon repair sessions. This overwhelming approach leads to incomplete fixes and new errors. The solution is scheduling micro-sessions that address one problem at a time, allowing your brain to process changes gradually. Oversimplification happens when you strip away so much detail that images lose their distinctiveness. In trying to reduce cognitive load, you eliminate the sensory richness that makes memories stick. The fix is finding the optimal detail level, enough to be memorable, not so much to be overwhelming. The ego trap involves refusing to acknowledge that problems exist because admitting failure threatens your identity as a memory master. This denial prevents necessary maintenance and allows small problems to become large ones. The solution is installing accountability systems that provide objective feedback regardless of your subjective impressions. The anti-fragile foundation. You now understand that mastery isn't a destination. It's a dynamic process that requires constant vigilance and systematic maintenance. The techniques that create exceptional memory also create the conditions for exceptional failure if left unattended. But there's a deeper truth hidden within these pitfalls, a secret that transforms maintenance from burden into opportunity. The memory masters who achieve true permanence don't just avoid these traps, they use them as stepping stones to something far more powerful than perfect recall. The final chapter reveals how the complete memory system becomes more than the sum of its parts, creating cognitive capabilities that extend far beyond simple information storage into realms that reshape how you think, learn, and lead. Chapter 9, Limitless Recall. You stand at the threshold of transformation. Behind you lies the old way, scattered notes, forgotten names, missed opportunities, and the constant anxiety of an unreliable mind. Ahead lies something extraordinary, a cognitive operating system that turns your brain into the most powerful tool in your professional arsenal. The journey you've taken through these pages isn't just about memory techniques. It's about fundamentally rewiring how you think, learn, and lead. You've built more than palaces. You've constructed a new version of yourself. But here's what most people miss. The real magic doesn't happen when you finish building your system. It happens when that system starts building you back. The complete architecture. Let's trace the path that brought you here. You began with Spatial Blueprint, discovering that your brain's ancient navigation system could become the foundation for unlimited information storage. You learned that familiar spaces provide the strongest scaffolding for memory, and that clear routes prevent the chaos that destroys most recall attempts. Then came encoding codes, where abstract numbers transformed into vivid imagery through the major system. You discovered that your brain remembers pictures, not digits, and that the right encoding system can make any information unforgettable. Those meaningless number sequences became concrete nouns that stick like superglue. PAO Power elevated your system to championship levels, compressing massive amounts of data into animated scenes that play like movies in your mind. Person-action-object combinations didn't just store information, they created narratives that your brain can't help but remember. Route design scaled your capabilities beyond single buildings into vast memory cities with perfect organization and instant navigation. You learned that growth requires architecture, not just capacity, and that hierarchical systems prevent the interference that kills expanding memory networks. Recall cycles revealed the secret that separates temporary storage from permanent installation. You discovered that memory is built during retrieval, not encoding, and that spaced practice creates neural pathways that last decades instead of days. Scaling systems transformed your hobby into a lifelong operating system capable of handling unlimited growth across multiple domains. You built the infrastructure that lets your memory expand with your ambitions without losing speed or accuracy. Finally, Mastery Pitfalls taught you that success creates its own vulnerabilities, and that maintaining peak performance requires systematic monitoring and targeted repairs. You learn to spot problems before they become failures and to use setbacks as stepping stones to greater mastery. Each step built upon the last, creating a compound effect that makes the whole system far more powerful than any individual technique. The strategic advantage. Your Memory Palace network isn't just a storage system. It's a strategic weapon that transforms how you operate in high-stakes situations. Picture yourself in your next crucial meeting, accessing frameworks, statistics, and case studies instantly while your competitors fumble through notes and slides. You can now deliver presentations that feel like conversations because you're not reading from scripts. You're walking through palaces filled with perfectly organized information. Your audience doesn't see someone reciting memorized content. They see someone who truly understands their material at a deep, intuitive level. The strategic applications extend far beyond presentations. You can participate in complex negotiations while keeping multiple scenarios, precedents, and data points active in your working memory. You can lead strategy sessions that weave together insights from different industries, time periods, and analytical frameworks because all that information is instantly accessible. Your decision-making accelerates because you're not constantly looking up information or trying to remember half-forgotten details. The cognitive bandwidth that used to be consumed by memory struggles is now available for higher-level thinking, pattern recognition, and creative problem-solving. The relationship revolution. Memory mastery transforms your relationships in ways that go far beyond remembering names and birthdays. When you can recall every conversation detail, every personal preference, and every shared experience, people feel truly seen and valued. Your networking becomes magnetic because you remember not just what people do, but what they care about, what challenges they face, and what opportunities excite them. These details let you make connections and provide value that others miss entirely. Leadership becomes more authentic because you can speak to team members' individual strengths, concerns, and aspirations without consulting files or notes. Your direct reports feel understood and appreciated because you remember their career goals, family situations, and professional development needs. Client relationships deepen because you can reference previous conversations, recall their business challenges, and demonstrate genuine interest in their success. This level of attention creates trust and loyalty that no amount of technical competence can match. The learning acceleration. Your enhanced memory system doesn't just store information better, it accelerates how quickly you acquire new knowledge. When you can instantly recall foundational concepts, you can build advanced understanding at unprecedented speed. Language learning becomes dramatically faster because vocabulary, grammar rules, and cultural contexts all have permanent homes in your memory palaces. You're not constantly relearning basics, you're building fluency on a solid foundation that never crumbles. Technical skills develop more rapidly because you can store procedures, troubleshooting guides, and best practices in organized, accessible formats. Each new technique builds naturally on previous knowledge instead of competing with half-forgotten fragments. Professional development accelerates because you can maintain comprehensive libraries of industry knowledge, strategic frameworks, and case studies that inform every decision and conversation. Your expertise compounds because nothing gets lost or forgotten. The compound effect. Here's the secret that makes memory mastery truly transformative. Each new palace becomes easier to build than the last. Your brain develops what neuroscientists call learning to learn, metacognitive skills that accelerate all future memory construction. Your first palace might take hours to design and days to populate. Your 10th palace might take minutes to design and hours to populate. By your 50th palace, you're creating functional memory structures almost as quickly as you can walk through them. This acceleration happens because your brain builds stronger hippocampal pathways with each palace you construct. The neural infrastructure that supports spatial memory becomes more robust, more efficient, and more automatic. You're literally growing the brain tissue that makes memory mastery possible. The maintenance burden also decreases over time. Well-established palaces require minimal upkeep, and your diagnostic skills become so refined that you can spot and fix problems before they impact performance. What once required hours of weekly maintenance eventually needs only minutes of monthly attention. The neuroplastic revolution. The changes happening in your brain go far beyond memory improvement. Repeated spatial imagery practice triggers neuroplastic adaptations that enhance cognitive performance across multiple domains. Your hippocampus, the brain's primary memory center, literally grows larger and more connected. Brain imaging studies of memory champions show enlarged hippocampal regions with denser neural networks and more efficient information processing. But the benefits extend throughout your entire brain. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for executive function and strategic thinking, becomes more active and better integrated with memory systems. Your ability to hold complex information in working memory while manipulating it strategically improves dramatically. Visual processing areas become more sophisticated, allowing you to create and manipulate mental imagery with greater precision and speed. Spatial navigation networks become more robust, improving not just memory palace navigation, but real-world orientation and problem-solving abilities. These neuroplastic changes create what researchers call cognitive reserve, enhanced brain capacity that protects against age-related decline and improves performance under stress. You're not just building better memory, you're building a better brain. The transformation story. Nelson Dellis embodies the transformative power of memory mastery. In college, he was an average student who struggled with retention and recall. He couldn't remember names, forgot important details, and felt frustrated by his seemingly limited memory capacity. Everything changed when his grandmother developed Alzheimer's disease. Determined to understand how memory works and how to protect it, Dellis discovered memory palace techniques and began practicing obsessively. His transformation was rapid and dramatic. Within months, Dellis could memorize hundreds of names and faces, thousands of digits, and entire decks of cards. He became a 4-time USA memory champion, setting multiple records and competing at the highest levels of international competition. But Dellis didn't stop at memory sports. He used his enhanced cognitive abilities to become a successful entrepreneur, motivational speaker, and mountain climber. He summited Mount Everest twice, using memory techniques to navigate complex climbing routes and remember critical safety procedures. Dellis proves that memory mastery isn't about genetic gifts or natural talent. It's about systematic practice and proven techniques. His journey from struggling student to memory champion demonstrates that anyone can achieve extraordinary recall with the right methods and sufficient dedication. The creative catalyst. Your memory palace network becomes more than a storage system. It becomes a creativity engine that generates insights impossible to achieve with scattered, unorganized knowledge. When information from different domains lives in connected palaces, your brain naturally finds patterns and relationships that spark innovation. Cross-palace connections reveal opportunities that others miss. A technique from your language learning palace might solve a problem in your professional palace. A framework from your historical knowledge might apply to your current business challenge. A pattern from your technical training might inspire a creative solution. This cognitive cross-pollination happens automatically as your brain strengthens connections between related concepts stored in different locations. You don't have to consciously search for insights. They emerge naturally from the rich associative network you've built. The result is enhanced strategic thinking, improved problem-solving, and increased innovation capacity. You become the person who sees solutions others miss, who connects dots others can't even find, who generates ideas that seem to come from nowhere, but actually emerge from your perfectly organized mental landscape. Your first step tonight. The journey to limitless recall begins with a single action. Choose one familiar room and identify 5 distinct locations where you could store information. Your bedroom, kitchen, office, or living room, any space you know intimately will work perfectly. Walk through your chosen room and mentally label each location. The doorway is locus 1, the window is locus 2, the desk is locus 3, the bookshelf is locus 4, the closet is locus 5. Spend 5 minutes walking this simple route until the sequence feels natural and automatic. Then test your foundation by storing 5 pieces of information you need to remember: tomorrow's appointments, your grocery list, important phone numbers, project deadlines, or personal goals. Convert each item into a vivid image and place it at the corresponding locus. Walk through your route once more, visualizing each image clearly at its designated location. Then close your eyes and mentally navigate the path, recalling each stored item in sequence. You've just built your first memory palace and proven that the techniques work exactly as promised. This simple exercise will take less than 15 minutes, but it marks the beginning of a transformation that will reshape how you think, learn, and succeed for the rest of your life. The choice before you. You stand at a crossroads that will define your cognitive future. Down one path lies the familiar territory of scattered notes, forgotten details, and missed opportunities. It's the path of limitation, where your memory remains a liability instead of becoming an asset. Down the other path lies unlimited potential. It's the path where your mind becomes your most reliable tool, where recall is instant and accurate, where information flows seamlessly between connected domains of knowledge. It's the path where you become the sharpest thinker in every room you enter. Your future self is calling across time, begging you to make the choice that transforms struggle into mastery, confusion into clarity, limitation into limitless possibility. That future version of yourself, confident, capable, and cognitively powerful, is waiting just beyond your first memory palace. The techniques are proven, the science is solid, the path is clear. The only question remaining is whether you'll take the first step tonight or continue living with the frustration of an unreliable memory. Your mind isn't a leaky bucket that loses everything you pour into it. It's an expandable palace with unlimited rooms, perfect organization, and instant access to everything you've ever chosen to remember. The door is open, the path is lit. Your transformation begins the moment you decide to walk through that first familiar room and claim your cognitive birthright. The age of forgetting is over. The era of limitless recall begins now.